This is a Trump country. We live in the Southeast. We drink sweet tea. We don't drink socialist Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Sweet tea. That's a dude at a rally in Atlanta. That's actually hysterical. It is true because I don't drink sweet tea. I'll just drink regular tea. And if you're ever in the South, in Texas, you're like, oh, I'll just want some unsweet tea. I swear to you, I don't care how old they are. There's like a beat there. Like there's something messes up in their head, like a record scratch. So did you say unsweet tea? You want unsweet tea? Then you're viewed as like you're suspicious. Welcome back to the program. Dana Loesch here with you. I don't know if you've seen some of the stuff that's happened. We're going to get to our stuff domestically, but I don't know if you've been seeing some of the things that have been happening like in the UK and in Northern Ireland. This is wild. So in the UK, there was, I'm sure you remember the girls that had been, or the playground that was it was a kid's birthday party actually, that was attacked. There was a stabbing attack that took place, and it was a horrific scenario. There've been riots and protests and all kinds of stuff that have been happening there, and it was weird because like in one part of Northern Ireland, weren't there like either side standing next to each other in solidarity against some of the stuff? It's just wild what's been happening. They had like one of the places in Middlesbrough where they were calling them far-right mobs. Are they far-right mobs? I never trust the British press, their characterization of anything. But there were people, because there were apparently, I've seen stuff from the far left going through the streets. There were people from, I guess, that were against that. There were all kinds of There's been rioting since Friday. There's been rioting in Northern Ireland. There's been rioting in Wales. There's been rioting, interestingly enough, in Rotherham, which you can remember the giant sex grooming scandal where you had British Pakistani grooming gangs targeting very, very young girls for like over a decade. And I think the people have had enough of it all. I will say this, in watching some of these headlines with asylum seekers and all of this stuff over the years, it really does feel like the people who live in these areas in and around the UK and even in Northern Ireland, that they feel as though they're underrepresented and really taken for granted. And especially, on the heels of the Rotherham stuff where nobody apparently did anything, which was just insane to me. That you had something that went on for that long and so many young women were targeted, and it just seemed like the government really didn't do anything. People got wrist slaps, and people are mad because the immigration is out of control and welcoming in boats of asylum seekers. It's like, the same thing. That's how the press describes it. That's, the same thing as like what's been happening at our southern border. And people have been fed up. We've talked about the increase in assaults, the increase in rape and in murder, and women have been targeted. You had this guy who was the son of Rwandan immigrants who attacked these people at this Taylor Swift themed dance party. And then people were protesting, and those protests got out of control. There were people who were arrested. They were lighting the trash cans on fire. Riot police were trying to protect the community's mosque from locals who were outraged. And then all across, the UK, there were riots. And it's tragic to see this because the government created it. The government created this whole issue. And then the government refused to mitigate the problems created by this issue. And then when the people have had enough and they go out into the streets, then they're the ones who are castigated as being the source of all the problems. UK officials, if you're in the UK, if you said, you remember the young girl, she was on the autism spectrum. And remember she had said, wasn't her grandmother like a lesbian or something? And she told this cop that this woman with short hair, that she looked like a lesbian because she had short hair like her grandmother. And then the police showed up to arrest the girl. The girl was like 14 years old. They showed up to arrest the girl. So I'm using that as an example of the way that the UK government has gone after UK citizens for just the most trivial of offenses. The slightest things, they are raked over the coals over. And then you have people who are coming into their country, some really illegally, and given a pass for it. And then they commit more crimes and they're given a pass for that. And so now people have been saying, well, you have a two-tiered justice system in the United Kingdom. You have a two-tiered system here for people who are coming in illegally. You're giving them immediately the benefit of the doubt because you're redefining them as asylum seekers. Not everyone's seeking asylum. I mean, it's very similar to what's been happening and how the characterizations are being made at the southern border. So people are done. They're out in the street and they're rioting. And I, quite frankly, don't blame them. And I don't think that anyone else can, either at this point. I mean, this is crazy. This is what complete unchecked policy like this is what it creates. And then they're trying to blame I don't know if you've seen, they call them hooligans, but I don't know if you've seen the videos of the actual people protesting. They're young and old. Like, there are old ladies out here. I mean, I'm not trying to be mean, but they're like grannies out here protesting. They're done. They're done. 3 little girls were killed. They're done. Riot police, they're not able to contain them. When you combine, here's the thing about the United States, and here's the thing about assimilation, and everyone talks about it like it's a bad thing. But when you have completely disparate cultures, when you have complete, cultures with very, very different customs and rules and etc., and you're forcing them all together on this tiny little island, and then you're treating one group, you go after them for the most trivial of things, and then very publicly it looks like those who commit serious crimes, if they fall into a certain demo, get a wrist slap. You are absolutely going to feed tension over this. There's an issue here. Like in Germany, when they were bringing in people from Algeria, Northern Africa, different, people who were fleeing, coming across the Mediterranean, going into whether it was Malta or going into Greece, and then being funneled up into the interior of the EU. And remember, this was like 5 or 6 years ago. There were several hundred, and they were all men, several hundred people that they were housing, like at a school in Germany. And there were a lot of security problems that were created, not just for the female volunteers and workers that were taking care of these asylum seekers there, but also for like nearby students and that. And remember, in Germany, they had to pass around a thing teaching dudes how to not rape. I know you all remember this. We talked about it on air. It went viral because they actually had a video of women explaining. They had these like government officials explaining like, this is, no unwanted touching and no this, like explaining to them like you would a dog, simple commands. And passing out leaflets and other printed literature so as to teach people, okay, well, you can't, unwanted touching is not acceptable. And, just because a woman is out walking by herself doesn't mean that she is begging for your, aggressive sexual attention, etc. The fact that even had to be explained is insane. But again, so they're shocked that they're seeing some of this stuff. They're shocked that they're seeing rioting. You're going to continue to see this. And what else are people supposed to do? Because clearly, and the government again is just, it's all, who is this guy? Their new socialist leader, because the Labor took over. I think I dropped this in. This is their new PM over there. I think is this their new PM? This is one of the things that I had put in our audio channel. But they had the new prime minister over there who went after, all of the people who were in the streets, said absolutely nothing about the murdered or those who had been attacked. Listen.
Be in no doubt, those that have participated in this violence will face the full force of the law. The police will be making arrests. Individuals will be held on remand. Charges will follow.
This is Keir Starmer. He's the new Prime Minister of Britain.
I guarantee you will regret taking part in this disorder, whether directly or those whipping up this action online and then running away themselves.
So he's the new Prime Minister of the UK, and very, very far left dude. He's with the Labor Party, and they're Marxist. I mean, they call them the Labor Party, but they're Marxist. So he's also the guy who's called for like a 11 trillion % tax, all this other stuff. Super far left dude. He immediately goes out. I interpret his remarks as adding fuel to the fire, because he's, these people that are, first off, there was a small group. Again, you have some people who are going to be violent, but I'm going to tell you something. When you have the government that continues to look the other way after all of these offenses against, young girls and young women, you're going to get the men out in the street kicking ass. That's exactly what's going to happen.